Hi everyone, Letty here. Today I'm going to share with you another craft with me video. This is project number 7 using the May 2021 Echo Park Club EP box. We're going to be making mini albums. So again, this is the May box that I received a few months ago from Club EP. I'm trying to use it up, trying to share some inspiration. This is the beautiful summer collection by Cartabella. You see here what I have left, which is not much. I mean, I have a ton to still craft with, but I feel like I've used a ton over the last few weeks making some of these projects. Again, this is my project number 7. And you can see here I have very few stickers. Now I do still have a ton of items, primarily because before I had even received this box, I had purchased a second 12 by 12 collection kit, a couple of extra sheets, and a 6 by 6 paper pad, and an extra pack of ephemera. So I wanted to try to use some of these sheets from the extra 12 by 12 collection kit that I had purchased. And if you still have some of this kit or even some of this collection, or really any collection, you could do the same project that I'm going to be showing today. So I'm just kind of walking through what came in that collection kit, and any of my cut aparts I am setting aside because I believe my last big project from this box is just going to be cut apart cards and scrap cards. So I'm likely going to use up the last little bits of paper and ephemera and everything else that I have left over to make some cards as my last project. And that'll be coming up at some point soon before we get that new box. And I believe the new box ships on the 20th. So literally next week or this week that's coming up, we should be getting potentially the new box. So I really want to try to use this last bit of paper and collection up. That was one of the sheets I had bought extra, so I have the extra tags and I have the 3x4 cut aparts. So we're going to be using these supplies to make a mini album, and the mini album is inspired by a tutorial by Amber, who is Lyric Lover Crafts on YouTube. I will be doing something similar to what she did. First thing I'm going to do is choose 3 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. Now she only uses 1 sheet in her tutorial. I'm going to use 3 because instead of making an album with 1 sheet, I'm going to make 3 albums with the 3 sheets, and I'm going to mix and match my patterns. But you could absolutely just get 1 sheet of 12 by 12, follow her tutorial, and get the same little mini album. So I've picked out my 3 sheets. What we're going to do is we're going to cut at 4 inches horizontally. So basically, from the side, you're going to go ahead and cut 3 sections of 4 inches each. So we're going to turn the paper to the side just like this, and basically cut from either the top or the bottom. And we're going to cut at 4 inches because you want your pattern to be horizontal. So I'm cutting vertically, but the pattern should be horizontal. And the paper itself should be 4 inches by 12 inches. And so with each 12 by 12, you're going to be able to get 3 sections. And this is where you can make the 1 mini album with the 1 12 by 12 sheets, like a 1-sheet wonder. Now, again, because I want to mix and match my patterns, I am actually going to I pulled out 3 sheets, and I'm going to mix and match and make 3 albums with 1 section of each of the sheets. And then I'm just going to save my branding strip for a different project later. And again, you should get 3 sets of the strips, each 4 inches. So using a scoreboard, you're going to score each of those sheets at 5.5 inches, 6 inches, and 6.5 inches. And every single one will be scored in the same places. And this is actually to make the kind of fold on the side that you were able to bind the album together. So you're just going to repeat this process with all of the sheets. Now, again, it looks like I'm doing a ton because I'm doing 3 different mini albums because I pulled out 3 sheets of paper. But in Amber's tutorial, she just pulls out 1 sheet and she uses the same pattern for all of her pages in her album. I wanted to mix and match, so that's why I am making 3 albums with 3 sheets, and I'm adding 1 section from each of the papers. So now we're going to fold on all of the scored lines. The first thing I do is I fold in the middle. So I fold it in half with my preferred pattern on the outside. Then what I'm going to do is reinforce it or varnish it with a bone folder, and then flip out the other 2 score lines and fold it and score it as well. And so you basically just want a really good crease on those two folds. And you see how it's kind of coming together. It's a little mini album, and you have your two flaps kind of folding over. So again, fold the middle, and then fold the additional two score lines, which are the 5.5 and the 6.5 marks. Fold those the opposite way, because that's where you want the album to be able to open very easily. So those are the 3 pages that we're going to use. We're going to put them together. So you pick your cover and then insert the other 2 right on the inside, and you can choose which ones you want as far as for the outside, and then the middle, and then the next page. This is basically the foundation of our album, and you can tell it's not really fully aligned on the edge. That's because these papers started at the same size. That's not a problem. We'll fix that in a bit. I am going to use eyelets in mine, so I'm just using this little eyelet puncher that I found on Amazon. If I find it, I'll link it down below. I'm going to punch my holes about 1 inch away from the edges, so both from the top and the bottom about 1 inch on the little section that is that little 1/2 inch side fold section, what's going to be for our binding. And in Amber's tutorial, she actually uses some ribbon or twine to kind of tie this together. I had this little eyelet setter, and these eyelets, I think these are the We Are Memory Keepers eyelets. So I went ahead and wanted to use this little tool. And I just like the look of the eyelets as well. And I've used this before on a couple of these albums. You can see here, that's what it's going to look like once it's bound together. And then you just repeat the process with the second punched hole. And again, all of these binding elements are happening on the little section, the 1/2 inch section that's kind of where the folds and those creases were. And so see, that's our little album. It's super cute, super easy, very fun, and you can really mass produce these very quickly. So I'm just going to repeat the same processes that I did with the remaining 2 albums. And again, I'm using 3 different papers. So when you just take one section of each of those 12 by 12 sheets, which is the 4 inches by 12 inches, you end up with the 3 different patterns in one album. One thing that I do to mix it up is I choose a different cover for each of the albums. So I'm going to have 3 albums that I'm making, and all 3 are going to actually look a little bit different. That's a trick that you can do as well, especially if you want to mass produce these, but you don't want them to look all the same. You can just mix and match those pattern papers and kind of just change up the look a little bit. At the end of the day, we're still making some mini albums. They're still going to look similar, but they will look a little different, and they won't be exactly the same. Now, of course, if you did want them to look exactly the same, then you just pick your preference for cover and then just repeat the same exact process for every single one. So you see here, I'm just finishing out my last one with my little bone folder and kind of just making sure those creases are kind of enforced with those flaps for my binding set. And then make sure they get real tight as far as close together. You don't want them to stick out too much. And then go ahead and punch those holes. You can add, again, ribbon or twine to tie it together. And in Amber's tutorial, that's exactly what she does. I am using eyelets because I have the tool. And I really like the look of it. And I feel like it binds it together really well. So those are my 3 albums. Those are ready to go. The next thing you're going to do is just basically trim the uneven sections. So what I'm showing you here is you can use a guillotine trimmer. You can use a regular paper trimmer. You can use scissors. You can use like an X-Acto knife. You can use a finger blade. You can use so many different options. I just kind of change it up just to give you an idea. Now, it is a little bit harder to do with some of the methods. So you can kind of determine what you like best and then use that method. The scissors actually worked okay as well. You just want to even out that side. And if you find where something's just not even, you just fix it with the scissors, just like I just did. So the last step is just going to be to decorate. So I've taken out all the remaining little bits and pieces of my ephemera and embellishment type, options that came in the kit, my chipboard pieces and stickers and my brads and enamel dots and even my paper scraps with some of my cut aparts. And I'm basically going to use those elements to finish decorating all of the mini albums. Now we are going to do 1 on camera, and then I'll do 2 off camera, and then come back for a full recap at the end to show you what each of the 3 albums looks like. The 2 adhesives I'm using are Barely Art glue and my tape runner. It's a tape runner brand tape runner adhesive. I really like it, and I think it has a really good firm stick. And then, of course, wet glue is always key for some of these items. And so when you're trying to glue them together, especially like the chipboard pieces, so I'm definitely going to be using that as well in this project. And this is actually a fantastic project to use those 4x4 cut-aparts on. I sometimes have problems using the 4x4s. I use them a lot for my hot cocoa packets, but other than that, I really have a hard time trying to use them. It's just really hard for me to use them. Now, 3x4 cut-aparts I can use all day on my cut-apart cards, but these are a little more challenging. But these little mini albums are a 4x6 in full dimension, not as far as the spacing that you'll be able to use for the album itself. It's just a little bit smaller than that, but the actual album is 4x6. And so these 4x4 cut-aparts works perfect on the front of these albums. So you see here, I'm just adding some chipboard pieces. I am using the wet glue to add them. I'm also using my super glue foam dimensional tape that I get from Dollar Tree. It's that super glue brand. I love this one. Right now, be on the lookout at Dollar Tree because they have the bonus packs that have 25% more in these adhesive packs. So I really, really like it. I went actually the other day and I stocked up and got, I think, like 10 sets of it because it's just, I use it almost in every project. So I'm here, I'm going to be adding some stickers, and you see my sticker sheet is actually getting worn down. I'm using almost all of them, which I sometimes have trouble with using those sticker sheets. And then Brad's, I rarely go to. And this year I've tried to use up a bit more of my stash. And it was one of our challenges for the hashtag Smash Our Stash 2021 collab. And so I find that I have actually used Brad's a little bit more this year than probably any year, you know, in the past. You can also add sequences. I have my sequences ready to go in these little bitty like paint palettes that I got at Dollar Tree. I'll put those at the very, very end because I'm going to be using some wet glue on the front and I don't want them to move after I've glued them. So I'm basically going in and I'm going to decorate the insides of the mini album. So what I recommend is you want to try to keep the inside of the album as flat as possible. Now, you can actually put little pockets or tuck spots. You can do that. But otherwise, you really want to keep the whole inside of the mini album as flat as possible so you can add pictures and things like that later, journaling spots, and you won't have to worry about any of your pictures getting damaged due to like too many ridges on the insides of the album. So you see here I actually did a little tuck spot by just gluing two sides, which are my two corners, and then gluing this little piece of ephemera down. And you can definitely do that and stick little, mementos or whatever inside the little mini album. These are just so cute and they're so versatile. You can use them for any season, any reason, any type of paper. And again, if you wanted to, you could follow Amber's tutorial to a T and do like a one sheet wonder where you're able to make the entire album with just one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. Again, I wanted to mix and match my patterns. I did not want each of my pages to look the same. So I went ahead and got 3 sheets of the 12 by 12 paper and I mixed and matched one type of each of the 3 papers into this little mini album. And so that way I was able to get 3 albums that have lots of different patterns instead of just one album that has all the same patterns. So this is, again, to each his own. You can definitely follow her tutorial as well, especially if you want to try to knock out, do like a one sheet wonder and knock out a bunch of assembly line kind of projects. You can absolutely do that as well. So, and I'm just here using my tape runner, adding some of these ephemera pieces. And I did have 2 ephemera packs when I started because I had purchased a second one. You'll see at the very end, I use up the majority of this ephemera, and I do use a ton of these little embellishments and things. I am adding a little sticker to the back. You don't have to. I just went ahead and rounded it out and added one. Now I'm actually going to be adding my sequence, and I'm using this little jewel picker, and it's one that I had first seen Helen, who is Crafty Mama Diaries here on YouTube and on Instagram, but she had one of her like favorites video, and I think I've mentioned this before. She had her favorites video, and it was like a giveaway as well, and she showed these little jewel pickers, and they're actually, I think, like to be used when you're doing your nails or something, but it's an amazing tool, and if I find it, I'll link it down below as well. So the first album is done. We've got the front fully finished, the cover, and then all of the pages on the inside have some additional stickers. This is an excellent project to use up, again, those 4x4s, your stickers, your ephemera, any size cut apart. You can kind of cut them down. You've got so many options, and look how gorgeous these things turn out. So I am going to repeat the same process with the remaining albums, but I am going to finish decorating them off camera. So here I have my 3 albums totally finished. I'll do a flip through in just a second. Let me just show you where I'm at with my supply. So I did finish off the entire 12x12 sticker sheet. I still have a ton of tags. I've got some of those little fussy cut stamps. I do have just a few enamel dots, a real few brads, and then I went ahead and condensed my ephemera into one pack because I only had a little bit left. And you can see here, I've made some more progress at my chipboard stickers. And then I still do have a ton of scraps and some cut aparts that, again, I'll be using for my last project. So this was the May 2021 Club EP Echo Park box. This was project number 7, and I made mini albums following a tutorial by Amber, who is Lyric Lover Crafts on YouTube and on Instagram, but her tutorials on YouTube. I just really love these, and this is the gorgeous summer collection by Cardabella. Again, project number 7. Definitely check out my series if you haven't already done so. This is the 7th project that I've made using this same Echo Park box. I have one last project that I'll end up showing at some point very soon, and it will be cards, more scrap cards and cut apart cards. But I have a few different projects that I've showcased over the last few weeks using this box to try to give everyone inspiration, and so that way I didn't hoard the box like I normally do. So you see, these are just so fun, and they use up so many of your supplies. It's unbelievable, and they make great gifts. So again, May 2021 Club EP Box Project 7 mini albums. Thanks for visiting, everybody. Hope you subscribe, like this video, follow me on Instagram, and as always, happy crafting.